Hey, hi everyone. This is Diane Davies, author, and I'm just here to talk with you today a little bit about who I am and what I do and where I live and all kinds of stuff like that. So let's get started. We live out in the country on the St. Croix River between Minnesota and Wisconsin. And I do want to start out by showing you a little bit about what it looks like out here. If you're familiar with me at all, you know that my books are about life in the neck, and the neck happens to be a long, narrow strip of land along a river, which happens to be our driveway. And it is a long, narrow strip of land that runs along the river. And for whatever reason, in the Davies family, it has been called the neck for forever, for over 100 years. So I think that's kind of an appropriate title for my books. What you're looking at across the way is Wisconsin, and we are here on the Minnesota side. So I'm just going to move a little bit more. Okay, so let's talk about how I got started in writing. Back in 2004, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And my mother had breast cancer in the early 70s, and I have a daughter. And so I just, figured, putting two and two together, that on down the road, the possibility of my daughter being diagnosed with breast cancer was pretty high. So I started keeping a journal, a day-to-day journal, and I kept it for, it was over 200 days. I don't remember exactly the number of days now, but I wrote about what was happening to me, and then in another font, in italics, I wrote about how I was feeling about that, and my emotions, and my prayers, and my thoughts, and whatever. So when I finished with it, my intent was to give it to my daughter, and I did that when I finished with it, and she read through it, and she came back home here, and she said to me, well, you know what, Mom, that's really good. And I think, I don't think we should just keep it here for me. She said, I think you should try publishing it, and think of all the women that you could help with that type of a journal. And so that's what we did. We sought out a publisher at the time, and DeForest Press published it out of northern Minnesota, and I guess the rest is history. I didn't do much writing again then after that until 2018, and that's when I was still, in with the cause of breast cancer, and I decided to take a look 12 years back at what I had written and talk about it with 12 years of new experience, new life after having survived breast cancer. And that's what I did. And the book was called Breast Cancer Saved My Life. And that one was published in 2017, I believe it was. And then one day I was just walking along my driveway, which I do quite often. And it, life in the neck is kind of came into my head, and I thought, wow, that's a great name for a book series. And that just kind of started the whole ball rolling. And I talked about the animals that I would see every day, and the ideas would come to me as I'd be walking, and I'd come home and quickly scribble something down, and later sit down and actually put it into a story form. So that was 2018, and then that became Life in the Neck, New Friends, and it won a few awards, and it did quite well, I thought, for a first book. And then I went back again to the breast cancer idea, and in 2019, I published Jeannie Ann's Grandma Has Breast Cancer, and that particular book is a tool for people that are thinking about or knowing that they have to have a talk, the I Have Cancer talk with their family. And this book, Jeannie Ann's Grandma, is a really good tool for beginning that conversation. So that was 2019. And then 2020, early in January, I published Life in the Neck, Squirrel Trouble, which happens to be with my grandson and his little log cabin that he has built up in the woods of the neck. So that's kind of a fun story where the squirrels get in and make a mess of his cabin, and he tries to get the squirrels out. And it's an interesting story. The squirrels continue to beat him back to the cabin, even once he's removed them. Okay. Another question that's asked of me quite often is why do you write? What's the impetus, I guess, behind writing children's books? Why do you do it? What's in it for you, kind of a thing? And there's several answers to that question. First of all, there's the fact that I was an elementary teacher for 26 years, and of those 26 years, 16 I taught first graders. And first graders are the ones that are learning how to read. And so during that time, I read thousands of books to hundreds of kids. And I knew that, having done that, I had a pretty good education, so to speak, about what makes a good children's book and what a good children's book needs. And I wanted to do that. I wanted someday to be able to read my own stories to children gathered around me. And I have done that, which is wonderful. It feels good to say that I accomplished that task. Another reason why I write is to promote literacy and reading for kids in that age group, the younger, new, emerging readers that need good material to read and to hold their interest. And so that's why I started writing the Life in the Neck books. Also, I think it's important for me through my books to be able to pass on lessons of love and caring for others and for the environment, which I am able to do. So one other reason, too, that I write is to share the breast cancer story with other people and be able to help people realize that the breast cancer journey isn't as lonely as it appears to be, that if you're able to reach out and ask for help, there are people out there that are willing to help you and to and I don't mean necessarily medical people, but there are people that are willing to share their stories and share their love with you and to help you along. So those are kind of all of my reasons behind writing. And besides that, I enjoy it. I really enjoy it. One of the kids asked me one time if this was my favorite job, if I really, really liked writing books. And I answered unequivocally, yes. Writing has been the most fun I've ever had. It's the most work I've ever had, but it's also the most fun. Okay, so I plan to tell you a little bit about my children's books, which I kind of already done. There's the three of them so far. It's Life in the Neck, New Friends. And that's by myself and Margarita Sikorsakaya. And then there is Jeannie Ann's Grandma Has Breast Cancer. And that one was written by myself and C.A. Nobens, another wonderful children's author. And then the third book is the Squirrel Trouble, Life in the Neck, Squirrel Trouble. And Margarita Sikorsakaya, again, is the wonderful illustrator that just blows my mind with her illustrations and the way she understands what it is that I'm trying to say, which is a wonderful way to work with an illustrator when they get you and you get them, so to speak. And then this year, with the COVID, I've been doing quite a bit of writing, putting together some things for the future. I haven't been publishing much of anything. First of all, I have found that it's quite expensive to be an independent publisher, and I'm working on trying to find ways that aren't going to be as expensive for me as they have been in the past. So I'm working on that, and hopefully we'll make some inroads here pretty soon, and we'll be able to publish some more books. The one that I wrote this year is called Life in the Neck Christmas, and it takes place, of course, in the neck. And my grandchildren star in the book, and they decide to celebrate Advent, the 4 Sundays of Advent, and then to celebrate Christmas Sunday in the neck, with the animals, on the porch of the little log cabin that Eli and his dad built. I found it to be a beautiful story. I'm very, very pleased with it. I had the opportunity to read it on KDWA radio station on Christmas Eve, which was wonderful. I certainly enjoyed that, and you can find that and listen to it at KDWA radio station. It's out of Hastings. That's the only copy of it out there as of yet, but I am seeking publication for that, and hopefully that will be my next book that will be published and marketed. So now the other question is, where do you buy my books? Where can you get them? There are a number of places. SC Toys in Hastings carries them, and I believe she has all 3 of the children's books. You can go online to my website, dianedavies.com, and you'll find them for sale there. You can also contact me directly at dianedavies48@yahoo.com, and I'll be able to handle the books for you. And in fact, if you do it that way, I can sign them for you as well, and send them off to you in the mail. So they're also available at Amazon, Barnes and Noble, and a few places like that. So check them out. If you just Google search them by title even, or Google search them by Diane Davies, you will find them. Probably the easiest and the best way is just to contact me at dianedavies48@yahoo.com, and I'll help you get copies of my books. Okay. I'd like to kind of end with a few questions and some answers. I do a number of school visits a year, and I totally enjoy doing those school visits and talking with the kids, answering their questions, and just kind of being a part of their school for a half hour or an hour. It kind of fulfills me to do that, and I've gotten some really good reviews from teachers that have been, extremely happy that I've been able to come and be a part of their classroom. But what I'd like to do is share some of the many questions that the kids ask me. They're very straightforward questions. They're very thoughtful for children. And I've found that they're pretty much the kinds of questions that adults would like to ask, but maybe are afraid to. So some of them are not like that, but some of them are. Like one child asked me one time, when you had cancer, did it hurt? So we talked about hurt and the number of different ways that you can define hurt. And, a hurt can be like when you need to put a Band-Aid on something. And another kind of hurt can be when it hurts deep down inside, and it's emotional and it makes you want to cry. And it's amazing how the kids can understand that kind of hurt as well. Another kind of a silly one, and yet I'm sure adults would like to ask this question too. Are you rich from selling all of those books? And the answer is no, because it costs a lot of money to produce the books in the first place. So, no, I am not. I'm not rich by any means. Then, is your house full of books? I told you that one already. And in some people's minds, yes, my house is full of books, but not really totally full of books. How did you learn to write books? That's a good question. And usually when I get that, I tell them that the best way to learn how to write a book is to read and read and read and read. And the more you read, the more you understand how a book should be written and what a book should entail and how it should be put together. And kids understand that. They get that. I think one little boy asked me that at one of the schools, and I told him to read, and he looked at me kind of funny. And I said, and write, then read and write and read and write and, just continue both of those things and get as much practice as you can with that. And that will help you down the road as you start to really write your own stories and become the author that you want to be. Let's see. A couple more questions here. Oh, here's a good one. Where do you get your ideas? Now, it can be a totally different answer for every single author out there. My ideas kind of seem to come to me when I'm out in nature, when I'm walking and thinking about my books and about what's going on in my books. There are times when I have written the whole book, just being out there walking in nature and thinking, about my story and how I want my story to go. Other authors, get their ideas different ways, but that's how it seems to have been working for me. It seems like in my quiet times, those ideas come. Do you draw the pictures? And no, I don't. I can't even really draw a stick person to make it look like a stick person. Do you remember the game Pictionary that you probably don't? Your parents probably do. Kids probably don't remember it. But I was the worst Pictionary player because I could not draw. So I need margaritas and I need C.A. Novans and I need people like that to help me get my ideas across in my books. How long does it take to write a book? Well, that too depends. Jeannie Ann's grandma has breast cancer. Probably took me the longest to write because I wanted to be so sure that I had it exactly the way I wanted it, so that it could be a tool to be used by others. So to start that I have cancer conversation. Sometimes I can write a book, write the story in one sitting. Sometimes it takes longer than that. The Life in the Net Christmas book came to me all at once. It's funny how, some books do that and some don't. But that doesn't mean that's the end of the writing, because you write your story and then you put it away, and then you get it out a week or so later and you read it and rewrite it, and then you put it away and get it out a day or so later and you read it and rewrite it. And it's amazing, the more times that I rewrite a book, the better the book gets. Every rereading of the story helps me fine-tune the words that I want to use and the order of the words. And believe it or not, an author does take that all into consideration. I remember reading a book at one time and I was skipping through it, and I wasn't, reading all the words. I was just reading the plot stuff of the story. And then I thought, no, wait a minute. I know how I agonize over every word that I put in a story just to make sure that it's correct and it's what I wanted it to say. And I'm cheating this author by not reading every single word that the author has written and taken the time to agonize over. So I don't do that anymore. I do read every word in the books that I am reading. And I, I'm happy that I do that because I feel I'm giving honor to the author that wrote those words and agonized over them in the first place. So I guess, maybe one last question. And let me find a good one here. Well, one of the questions that the kids ask me a lot is, how does a book get made? You write the story and somebody draws the pictures, and then what happens? So for part of my presentation in schools, I have a slide presentation about, I see I'm showing my age, aren't I? A slide presentation. That's not true. It's a PowerPoint presentation about how a book is made. And I actually have stuff to show them from along the way, and how I have the actual pages that are printed and not cut apart, and I show them how that's folded and then cut and on, until the book is glued together. The cover is glued on, and so on and so forth. And sometimes I find that students really enjoy that part of my presentation as much, maybe even more so than the actual story in the book. I think it's partially because I have the pieces and parts to show them, which is important for children to see. But interestingly enough, whenever I've done that part of the presentation, many of the teachers have even said to me, I didn't know that. I've never seen that before. I didn't understand that. Really, that's how it's done, and so it makes me feel really good to think that I'm providing some entertainment with my story and some learning, through the story, but also some learning about books and how books are put together and how books are made. So there you have it, my friends. As I said before, it's been fun having the opportunity to talk with you and tell you a little bit about myself and show you some of my home and some of my books. And I hope you've enjoyed listening to me today, and that if you're so moved, you'll go and look up my books and buy them. What more can I say? That's what an author writes books for, too, is to sell them. So thanks again for listening. I've enjoyed being with you today. And remember, if you want personal attention from me for your books, go to Diane Davies 48 at yahoo.com. Otherwise, DianeDavies.com. And one other place, too, is called KiddieLitMarket.com. And you can go there and find me with a number of other authors, too. But it's kind of a fun spot to take a look if you're interested in a lot of authors and books that they write. So that's all for today. Thanks again for joining me, and I'll see you again next time. Hi again, everybody. We just had one more question come in, and I wanted to take time to address the answer to that. The question is, when will you be doing another live broadcast like this again? And I have to tell you that for sure, I will be doing one again next January as part of my my membership in Kiddie Lit Market. That is something that we plan to do each year with our authors, is to help them produce a live broadcast like this. Also, though, I'm hoping that through Kiddie Lit Market, I can also do a few more of this kind of thing. I'd be happy to do broadcasts like this with school children. I'd be happy to do them with other organizations. I'd love to talk individually, even with book clubs. And this all could be done through Kiddie Lit Market and through this Wander form. And I'd be more than happy to do that sort of thing. My hope is to be able, again, through Kiddie Lit Market, to put together a number of different broadcasts talking about different topics that will be available for you through the Kiddie Lit Market website, and that's kittielitmarket.com. Thanks.